What is up? My name is Jake and I'm an online fitness coach. And in today's video, we're going to be doing a tier list ranking of popular fad diets. Now, I don't want to waste too much time because this is going to be a very interesting video, but to give you a little backstory, I was actually, oh man, well, I used to be skinny fat and I didn't know what kind of diet to do, what kind of workout to do. I tried a lot of at home workouts, but I also tried a lot of these diets. Like 70% of these ones on here I've tried myself with. Like, I know how they work. I know how they go. You might have tried them yourself too. We're both here because we know they ultimately don't work. But we're gonna answer that question in this video. Which is the best one? And then how bad are the other ones? Is there a worse diet? And is there a best diet? Let's get into it. So starting off hot. For all these, I'm gonna go over the pros and the cons on my experience, what I know about the diet. I'm gonna tell you straight up if I haven't done the diet myself, then take it with a grain of salt. I'm just gonna go off what I've heard other people say and what I've done in my research on it. So starting off hot, the ketogenic or the keto diet. So defining what this is, it's pretty much just no carbs or cutting back to as little carbs as you possibly can. So no breads, no pastas, no rice. A lot of stuff is limited. So you're just focusing on meats and so proteins and fats. So a lot of meats, a lot of greens, pretty it's all right. The diet, it's not the greatest in my opinion because you're cutting out a ton of food groups and sustainability is not really all quite there. So like say you have to go to your niece's birthday party and they have cake there. You have to tell them like, "Oh, sorry guys, I don't eat carbs at all. Zero." This one is super popular. I was literally out at a coffee shop the other day and I heard this family coming together and this older gentleman was talking about, yeah, I'm on the keto diet, so I can't have this, I can't have this, I can't have this. It sucks, but I'm gonna lose a lot of weight. And it's like, oh, doesn't sound real sustainable now, does it? So effectiveness, I say it majority of the time does work because carbs are where people are getting a lot of their calories because at the end of the day, it's calories in, calories out. We burn a certain amount of calories in the day. And if you eat below that, your body has to make up for the energy somehow. So it's going to take away from your fat stores. If we eat more than that, it says, okay, here's extra energy. Let's store that away as body fat. Only the biggest problem here is the fats. So you typically see keto people eating a lot of oils, a lot of butter, a lot of avocado, stuff that has a lot of high fat. And fat is calorie dense. So like you could eat, I don't know, a little block of butter. Some people actually do that on the keto diet, and that could be like 500, 600 calories, which is crazy. Like amount of a burger and just one block of butter. So looking at some of these other ones kind of peeking ahead, it doesn't seem too limiting. So I'm going to give it a B. I feel like a B is a fair rating for now. Now the fruitarian diet. So that's literally just where you only eat fruit, from what I assume. I have not tried this myself. I've tried a fruit heavy diet, but not just pure fruit only. The biggest con that's like yelling and screaming at me right away is there's no protein at all. And protein is essential to keep your body functioning normally, but also to put on muscle. So without it, you're going to feel super low energy. You're probably going to lose a lot of weight, muscle, and body fat because fruit is very low in calories. So that's the opposite of like the butter, like I said here. So like you could have an entire watermelon for probably 500 calories. And entire watermelon, you're going to be full. So you'll probably feel bloated and full on this diet, but not ever satiated because there's no protein. There's some carbs, not much fat, not a very balanced diet. I'm going to go ahead and give this one an F. Nowhere near sustainable either. You cannot go anywhere and just order fruit in like social situations. You're going to look like a complete weirdo. Don't recommend it. Now this one, I don't know. It doesn't have a name. It might just be referring to just not eating. But I'm going to think of it as intermittent fasting because that's a very popular one that I don't see on this list that I did try myself. So the idea behind this is you only have a certain block of time in your day where you can eat. And the idea is that way you know, okay, now it's time to eat. You just eat whatever you want in that time frame, making it simple, making it easy to stay on track. This can work. It works for a good amount of people, but the problem is the sustainability over time, right? For me, I found that my hunger hormone was just going up consistently throughout the day. My energy would fluctuate a ton because when it was that window where I was allowed to eat, I would just eat like crazy because that's the thing is there's no real limitations on what you're supposed to eat. It's just this window is open. eat wise, but just eat during this time only. And I would usually eat a lot of food, or my cravings would go really high up because my hunger hormone is spiked. And then after I ate that big meal, my energy would crash because it was just so much. My body could not digest it all at once. Then throughout the day, when I'm not eating, my energy is also pretty low. In the morning, it did feel good though. In the morning when I was fasted, kind of energy, a little more mental clarity. I did see that. But later in the day, just my energy would just constantly be going up and down. It was super miserable, and I don't think it's sustainable. But looking at everything else here, I'm gonna go ahead and give it an A because I feel like it can work for most people. It's pretty good. It's just not in the perfect tier, not in the S tier. Now, the monotrophic diet, I actually had to look this one up because I did not know what it meant. But apparently, you only eat one food group or even one food for prolonged periods of time. People were saying they'll only eat eggs, like an egg only diet, breakfast, lunch, dinner, snacks, all the time you just eat eggs. This is wild to me. It's just eggs as an example. Some people have done other stuff like fruits or seeds or beans. Can't imagine beans going to the bathroom on that. But also just completely destructive, not sustainable. I might even go to say that's worse than the fruitarian diet because there you have some options. This is just one thing. But I guess monotrophic could be fruitarian because they say, oh, you could just eat fruits, or if you limit it to just carbs or just protein sources or whatever, it's just not sustainable at all to just only eat one food, nevertheless, like one whole food group forever. Pro of it is, well, the con, you're going to feel super restricted, but pro is because you're restricted, you're not going to have much to eat. You're going to get super bored of what you eat right away. This one's going straight to F tier. Complete garbage. Now, vegan. This one actually might catch you by surprise, my opinion on this. So, difference between vegan and vegetarian. Vegan is no animal products at all. So, no milk, no cheese, no meat, obviously. But there's becoming a lot more options of vegan foods. Like a big discussion point back earlier, a couple of years ago, was like, oh, well, there's not much vegan sources of protein, like tofu and yogurt. No, I can't even do yogurt. But now there's a lot more vegan options, and almost every single food has a vegan alternative, which is pretty cool. But the thing is, the calories are still just as high as regular versions of those foods, but people feel like because they're vegan, it's also for different like emotional reasons. People might be doing this more than likely. But just looking at it from a diet perspective, pro is you're gonna have a lot of food. This is probably one of the only ones on here where you have a lot of options. Con is it's not gonna be super successful because you're just kind of eating worse tasting versions of foods you're already eating, and they're not gonna get you in shape anymore. They're really not gonna change the calories very much. So how do I rank that? I'm gonna rank that one a C just for that because it's not super sustainable. It's not even real food that you're eating. You're just eating the fake version of it, kind of lying to yourself the entire time. Doesn't seem the best. Now, the Mediterranean diet is pretty much the idea that you're only allowed to eat what they eat in like the Mediterranean part of the world. So you have to eat fish two to four times per week, I believe it is. And then the rest of it is based on greens. And the idea is you can just eat as many greens as you want. Um, but it's very restrictive on just like greens. I think there's some sides you can do, maybe rice, I believe, and then a lot of fish too. No red meat though. It says you can eat chicken sometimes, but no red meat at all. And it seems okay because it's like okay, it's limiting you to a lot of whole foods. The fish stuff, I would personally get bored of eating just fish and shrimp majority of the time. There's a lot of different options in there, but I'm sure you would feel great eating this diet because it's whole foods, you feel amazing. It's just, are you able to stick with it long term? Like, are you able to go out to a restaurant and know that everything is going to fit you perfectly? You're going to have to constantly make accommodations for that kind of stuff. Or like, you're going to have to prep your own meals and bring them with you to social events because whatever they have at that family gathering or Super Bowl party is not going to fit your Mediterranean diet 90% of the time, right? So that's the only real problem I have with this. It is whole foods, it's just more of a restriction diet, and the idea that you can eat as much as you want is a flawed mentality because if you eat a lot of anything, you're still gonna get overweight. Like, if you eat 5, 6 pounds of chicken every single meal, you're gonna probably gain weight because that's pretty high in calories. But this one, I'm gonna go ahead and give it an A. Pretty well balanced, your hormones are gonna be good. I just think it's a little restrictive. Now, carnivore, this is another popular one, but you just eat meat and eggs, and I believe dairy as well. but majority is just meat is really what this focuses on. And I like it because it's high protein, no carbs at all, ever. And your fat sources are pretty minimal, except just eating more fatty cuts of meat. So balance, not really there. Is it going to be fun for the first few weeks? Probably. But your toilet is going to be going crazy because you're just eating a ton of protein and there's not really much else to help you with that. And your hormones are going to be pretty imbalanced because you're not getting the proper amount of healthy fats that you need. And you're going to feel super energy depleted for the first time you kind of get into this because you don't have carbs, and carbs are an energy source. And your body has to make up for that in another way. So when you do carnivore, the idea is more protein, which is good because protein keeps you full. But if you don't have carbs to go off of, same thing goes for the keto diet. If you don't have carbs to go off of, your body has to take energy from one of the other sources, from the fats or the proteins. And if you don't have too much fat either, it's going to take energy from the protein, which is taking away from the point that the protein is here to build muscle. So, a little bit of flaw in that sense. And also, it's not easily accessible everywhere. Like if you're driving on the road on a road trip, what are you going to eat? Are you just going to pack some ground beef in a Ziploc bag and just eat that? Like, you see what I mean? It's kind of flawed. Very flawed, actually. But yeah, I also don't think it's sustainable for long-term life. Like, you can't look at that and be like, for the rest of my life, I'm going to be able to do that. So, for that, I'm going to give it a C. It will probably help you lose weight and muscle, but sustainability is not really there. Now, vegetarian diet, very hard to get protein in because you're just eating plants pretty much for everything. And protein is essential to build muscle mass, stay full. It's another one of those things to balance everything out. So if your goal is just to drop body fat and you don't care if you gain it back, then this is fine. But if you want to build muscle, so that way when you lose the body fat, you can keep it off. That's how muscle works because it ups your metabolism. I still wouldn't recommend a vegetarian diet. So pros, you'll lose a bunch of weight. Cons, you'll feel super restricted. You'll be so bored of everything you eat. I can almost guarantee it. Even if you spice it up and make all these cool recipes that you see online, after 2 weeks, you're going to be like, this sucks so bad. This is rough. I'm going to put this at F. Pescatarian. So from what I believe, this is you eat everything else normal, but just instead of eating any red meat, chicken, or anything else, you just eat fish as your protein source instead of any other meats. So it is good because you're going to get your omega-3, 6, 9 fatty acids in fish, which you can take as a vitamin, but it's better if you do get it from the actual fish. High protein, which is good. The only thing is it's just changing a small part of your diet. It's not really going to help you lose a ton of weight because it's not the steak and the chicken that you're eating that's making you fat. It's the carbs, it's the ice cream, it's the bread, it's the pizza. You know what I mean? It's not really just the protein option. I don't think this is bad. It doesn't really hurt. It's just not super effective, in my opinion. So I'm going to go ahead and throw that in B. Paleo diet. So the idea behind this is you're only allowed to eat whatever they would have in the Paleolithic era. So no processed foods, just whole foods, pasture raised eggs, everything like that. There's no whole grains and no bread because that wasn't a thing back then. Lots of cheese, protein. So looking at it just for what your body needs, it is pretty good. It kind of checks off all the boxes of what your body needs. It's just more sourcing and paying for these foods is going to be a lot more expensive than just eating normally. You're going to notice that a significant amount. Two, you might not be able to find everything that perfectly fits all the time. And it's not saying you have to follow this diet, any of these diets 100% perfectly. I'm just saying it as a general overview. This kind of diet is still pretty restrictive. You do have more options, but it's going to be a lot of cooking, a lot of preparation, a lot of rules too of like, okay, well, this doesn't fit the Paleolithic era, so you're not allowed to eat that. Are you going to lose body fat? More than likely. Your energy is probably going to be pretty good. You're going to get a lot of your vitamins from your food, which is good. Hormones are going to be probably amazing, quite literally. But just sustainability again over time. If you go out to a restaurant and they're cooking with seed oils and all this stuff, it's not going to fit your paleo diet, and you're going to have to restrict yourself on a lot of different things. So the restriction is really what's holding this back, and it's the price of everything for me personally. I just would not see it. So I'm gonna go ahead and put it in B tier. Average American diet. So a good amount of fast food, home cooked meals that are not really thought about, if even that, but just generally just fast food, stuff like that. Grocery store, Oreos, what else? McDonald's. Yeah, it's not the best. Not the worst in protein compared to some other places in the world, but just in comparison to these, honestly, I'm gonna give it a D because it's more balanced than these, honestly, and that's sad to say, but, like, you're eating more than one food group here. Your hormones, they might be decent because 'cause you're at least getting your carbs, proteins, and fats. Are you getting too much of all 3 of them? Probably. Maybe not enough protein, but way more than any of these. But, yeah, that's why I give it a D tier. Now, finally, if it fits your macros, this approach is essentially you have a set calorie limit and protein, carbs, fats that you need to hit for the day. And you can pretty much have whatever you want, even from here, any food you want, as long as it fits into your macros, as long as you don't go over your calorie limit for the day. The idea behind this is you set up a calorie deficit. So you find your maintenance, find where your deficit is, and then you just track what you eat. Or you put on like a meal plan or whatever that fits this. But yeah, the idea behind this is a lot more sustainable. You can you can go out to eat at restaurants and make it fit your macros. You can like budget in your day, like, okay, I know I'm gonna go out later tonight and have nachos at the party, and then maybe we're gonna have like hamburgers or whatever. So I'm gonna like save my calories for later in the day. You can kind of do that with this approach. And then if you want to eat super perfect, super clean, maybe food from the Mediterranean diet, or if you want to eat in a keto style, you're going to be saving a lot of calories. It's almost like having a budget of like, here's how many calories you can eat. Let's fit it in. Just make sure you hit your protein goals, fat goals, carb goals, and it's good. The cons, okay, let me see. If you're misguided, you can easily overdo it. For example, if you think, okay, well, I'm just going to have half a sleeve of Oreos, and then you do that and you're like, "Oh, shit, that was like a whole quarter of my day is gone. Now I'm not gonna hit my protein goal because I don't have enough calories left for the rest of the day." It's more like you have to use your brain in the approach. This stuff, it all has rules and it does the thinking for you of you can only eat this meat, you can only eat this kind of food, you can only eat during this time frame. This is more like, here's how it's gonna work. It's like the cool teacher or whatever at school from way back in the day. It's like you can kind of do whatever you want. There's just kind of parameters on it. But if you mess up, that's on you. Like you're going to suffer the consequences. But I think it's good because I think it teaches people how many calories are in everything and why that actually matters. And there's not really any confusion, where with this stuff, there is confusion. As long as you're tracking everything properly, weighing out your food, S tier. S tier, baby. This is exactly what I preach. This is exactly what I've been using for years and got me results, gives my clients results. It's honestly been amazing. So this is the diet tier list of everything. So an S tier, if it fits your macros, A, intermittent fasting, Mediterranean diet. B tier, keto, paleo, pescatarian. C tier, vegan, carnivore. D tier, average American diet. F for fruitarian, monotropic, and vegetarian diet. Hope you enjoyed this video, and I will see you guys in the next one. Peace.